I had that kind of mindset that I can do well on quant, right?
Yeah.
But the struggling part or the challenge for me was that I had done even my maths in Hindi. So the challenge was that how can I actually understand the whole question? Very, very weak in sentence correction and at the same time weak in reading comprehension as well.
Hmm.
And after that mock, I realized that I was not really comprehending the question and the data that the question is giving me. I was not comprehending or making the meaning out of it, and I was going blindly. So, after the counseling with e-GMAT, I realized that I need to go through it in a structured manner.
Welcome, Nikhil, to this interesting success story. Now, this success story session is about a 2B doctor who left studying math in class 10 and studied in Hindi medium and probably did math in Hindi as well, right? So your challenges for the GMAT were pretty much quite insurmountable when you probably started studying, but your story is nonetheless phenomenal, Nikhil. Congratulations on scoring a 730, which is again a 120-point improvement from the first time you took a mock.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Dhananjay, for first of all having me here. And I'm so happy because I have seen you in a lot of interviews with other students, and now I'm finally here. I scored something. Yeah. So I'll tell you about my story from the beginning. So in my third year of college, I've realized that I want to go for an MBA. And also I realized that I need to give my GMAT. I have read a lot of stories and I have researched about it a lot. So when I actually started it, I was going blind for it because I had
Hmm.
read reviews, I had read stories that people have succeeded and people have aced the GMAT with only the help of official guides. So I thought, let's just give it a try, and why waste so much money onto it? So I just gave it a try, and then I soon enough realized that I was going completely blindly, and there was no improvement that I was seeing in myself.
Hmm.
Even after I was not giving any mocks, but I had realized it. So I thought I need to go with a strategy, and with the strategy, I need something. So I was also reading some pre-thinking, some meaning-based approach, some. So I wanted to know how these things work
Yeah.
and how these things can actually help me.
Hmm.
And I remember the first time I had read review of e-GMAT on GMAT Club, and there were so many reviews of how non-native speakers actually helped, actually improved their verbal score with the help
Yeah.
of e-GMAT, and that was an area where I wanted to work on
And you've improved it
completion.
by
Yeah,
like 11 points, right? So V28 to V39
it
as
was
well.
228.
Wow.
Correct. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Let's talk
So.
about it a little bit more, right?
Mhm,
So, OGs, of course, didn't work out. And I see so many people talking that, listen, I did the OGs, that didn't work out. Then I did this, that didn't work
mhm,
out. And then I did
mhm,
e-GMAT. It's really not, see, it's not rocket science at the end of the day. It's something that we do in a more structured fashion, right? So,
mhm.
let's get right into it. So let's break it out into two parts because your story is phenomenal because of two reasons. One, your non-math background for the last few years. I think that's a very important part to discuss, and then verbal. So you can pick up anything, and we can start off with that.
Yeah. So I think we can start with verbal
Okay.
because that was a more improving thing for me.
Yeah.
I have improved more in verbal, and also EGMAT helped me more in that. So let me start out with verbal. So when I started with verbal, I remember the first mock I gave. I was realizing, reading the questions, that I'm a little good in CR, a critical reasoning, because I could analyze the argument, but I was definitely not, reading in the right approach.
Hmm.
But very, very weak in sentence correction and at the same time weak in reading comprehension as well.
Hmm.
And after that mock, I realized that I was not really comprehending the question and the data that the question is giving me. I was not comprehending or making the meaning out of it, and I was going blindly. So, after the counseling with e-GMAT, I realized that I need to go through it in a structured manner. So I remember I had gone through the master comprehension course, and I would say the master comprehension course was a complete blessing. And it was something where I started having confidence in verbal, because even if it was one sentence, I was reading it quite well with the approach
Hmm.
of master comprehension, like where you need to pause and how you need to read. the whole sentence, right? The different structure, the subject verb, the parallelism, and the
Yeah.
modifiers, how you need to connect all the pieces of a sentence together.
Yeah.
So it really helped me quite well in all three sections, and it gave me confidence that yes, I can also do verbal quite well.
Got it.
Yeah. So after master comprehension, all the three sections were a little smooth. After that, I had gone through the whole concept
Hmm.
modules and every practice quiz. Yeah.
Got it. I think it lays the right foundation. I think it's the most undervalued part of the verbal course, right? Not a lot of people talk about it, but it's such a phenomenal course because it lays the foundation of everything that you will do in the
Mhm.
future in the SECR and RC course.
Yeah.
Let's
Completely
talk.
agree.
Let's talk a little bit more about the verbal course now, because again, you were
Mhm.
absolutely frightened of SC, right? But you jumped right in, and
Yes.
of course, you did it. Talk to me more
Mm.
about your experience with the course, and talk more about, I would say, a lot of people, of course, talk about the meaning-based approach and all of that.
Mhm.
But I want you to talk about the experience of doing those files for a person who probably just never seen a sentence correction question.
Yeah. Okay. So I was when I was doing the files, I would say I was the way the e-GMAT teach you the files is something that I would say is not at all frightening. Like you will get a simple sentence, the basic sentence that even a kid can read. So you will not be frightened at all, and the pace and the foundation that it will build up, and the way you will improve is that you really understand every single thing, like one sentence, two sentence, and then you're using the approach in the right way, for one sentence, two sentence, and the whole question.
Hmm.
So it builds your momentum up in quite a useful and interesting way. So I would say it wasn't at all frightening, and I was having confidence because I was going in the right way, because I was going with the right strategy in my mind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I would say the strategic approach is everything that I would say love about the GMAT. Yeah.
Fair enough. And let's talk about the strategic approach right now. We have to talk about what is the strategic approach specifically for SC, CR, and RC. Now, you've
Mhm.
done OG and you must have solved SC questions there. What was
Mhm.
the difference that you noticed from, let's say, an SC question solved in the OG versus a SC question taught in the e-GMAT course?
Okay, so for me, it was completely blind. When I was solving the OG question, I was
Hmm.
only reading the underlined portion, and I was reading that how it is incorrect, and I wasn't able to identify anything.
Hmm.
For a little fact, if I able to identify any subject verb error, suppose
Hmm.
any plural singular error, then I would make it right. Otherwise, I was just going blind for it,
Hmm.
honestly. So when I used the e-GMAT approach, I had gone through every single approach. I first started reading out the meaning, understand the meaning, and then
Yeah.
using my approach to identify error in every single part of the sentence and how it's connecting,
Okay.
and the meaning based approach. And also one more fact that I would able to that I want to quantify is that about the elimination approach.
Hmm.
Till the very end, I was struggling with the timing in my verbal part. I
Yeah.
was struggling with the timing. I was spending a lot of time in SC as well, 2 minutes or
Hmm.
more than 2 minutes per question, and it was eating up a lot of time that I wanted to give for my critical reasoning and reading comprehension, right? So at the end, I realized that I was not really using the elimination approach in a right way. So then I started using, found out that I started using about the elimination approach. And when I was using the elimination approach, I was very able to eliminate three or maybe four, even four options
Hmm.
quite easily, and it was really helpful for me. I was able to do my question in 1 minute or even less than 1 minute. So
Yeah, I
you know
think most people buy.
that's
So
what I
that's how it
think.
works with our course, right? So when you first learn our method, your time increases, right? And then it kind of keeps increasing as you perfect it, but your accuracy also increases. But by the
Right.
end of it, your accuracy stays the same, which is at 80%, 90%. And then your time goes down because you kind of perfect
Yeah.
that approach. And
Yeah.
that's not what a lot of people really realize, that you have to be patient with the process. And there is no one who is more patient than than you. So I think genuinely a big shout out to you for that. Now
Thank you.
let's talk a little bit more about uh, CR, RC. What did you do
Mhm.
after doing the course? How did you practice?
Sure. So I'll talk about critical reasoning first. In critical reasoning, for me, I had actually solved question without pre-thinking, and then I had solved question with pre-thinking. So when I was even in a single question, I have tried to do it. I have tried to solve it without pre-thinking. It was an assumption question, I remember.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tried to solve it without pre-thinking, and every single question, every single answer choice was making sense for me without pre-thinking. And after I had done pre-thinking, I realized that I was able to reject the incorrect answer choices just like that.
With ease,
And
yeah.
I will tell you the reason that I feel for it is that, I think in critical reasoning questions, there is always this much gap in the reasoning of author, whatever the question is writing
Hmm.
about. So when there is this logical gap, most of the answer choices you will find will fill up this gap, but not this gap, in assumption
Got
questions.
it.
So they will
Understood.
fill up this gap and they will left behind this much logical gap. So if you will
Hmm.
not pre-think well about what is the real logical gap in the reasoning, you'll find answer choices correct, even the answer choices that are filling less gap, that are filling maybe 75% of the gap or 80%
Hmm.
of the gap, but not the 100% of the gap. But when you're pre-thinking, you're actually making sure that your mind thinks about the thing that is filling up the whole gap. And it was really, really, really a wonderful thing for me. And I used pre-thinking in all my questions consciously, and then when I used this approach consciously, I was
Hmm.
able to do CR questions quite
Got
well,
it.
even the hard questions. Yeah.
No one has actually explained it this well, to be honest. I've had quite a few interviews. I'm sure that you've seen it, but this is very well explained. Okay. How did you practice? How did you use Colranium?
For Scholarinium, I I was going with the strategy that e-GMAT only told me.
Hmm.
So I was going through all the concept modules.
Okay.
And after the concept modules, I had gone through the cementing quizzes first.
Hmm.
So, the cementing quizzes actually helped me cement all those methods.
Hmm.
So I would tell you that, you know, till I was not scoring 70% above accuracy in medium questions,
Hmm.
I didn't want to go for the hard quizzes. Right. So I was
Makes
sticking on
sense.
it and I was making the whole use of the error log. And at the same time, the doubt discussion system, the e-GMAT platform has. I love it because of the reason that I get a quick reply. And at the same time, even if I don't put a question there,
Hmm.
I, used to find a lot of questions already people have asked there. So I was reading all those comments and I could easily identify where I'm getting wrong or where I'm getting right.
Got it.
For the expensive course like SC, it helped me a lot.
Got it.
Yeah.
I think the forums, again, a very, very undervalued thing, but a lot of people find a lot of help there because, I mean, even if you don't post a response, you already have people who have the same kind of doubts, right? And that's
Same
that's where
thing.
we are
Yeah.
thinking as a system as well. I remember you've taken, you've taken cementing quizzes, you've taken test readiness quizzes, mixed
Mhm.
quizzes, you've taken ability quizzes as well. How did you kind of use each quiz to kind of practice? What was your experience with each quiz?
Okay. So, after I had done cementing quizzes, I was sure that I would be able to score well in further quizzes as well because I had mastered one
True.
session and one concept. But when I had moved to the another, suppose test readiness quiz, what I
Hmm.
found is that suppose you're using the pre-thinking approach in a conscious way in all the cementing quizzes, and now
Hmm.
you think that it has cemented in you, but now you approach critical reasoning questions in the middle of so many sentence correction questions, and then you lose track, and then you forget about the pre-thinking.
True.
You forget that you needed to pre-think, and then you jumped directly on answer choices, and then you are
Yeah.
fully confused. The time is running out, and then you have to take the answer choice. And
Hmm.
it happened with me actually. It happened with me that I was forgetting the right approach, and I was going again. I was jumbling up in my approach, and I was just answering the choice because the time is running out.
Got it.
So it helped me in a way that I was actually focusing that, it's an SC question. Okay, use the right approach. It's an CR question. Use the right approach. And with consciously doing that again and again, whenever I see a question, it has helped me quite well. Yeah.
You cannot imagine, Nikhil, the number of students that do well on mocks and they say, I did well on my mocks, but when I went to give my exam, I didn't do well.
Yeah.
The reason, and I figured this out after a very, very long time, frankly, in all of my experience, and I realized that we we made the assumption that the student went to the exam and followed exactly the same approach that he learned in cementing or test readiness or anything. But when you're sitting in front of that screen, you completely forget what you're supposed to do when you get one or two questions wrong. It kind of
Yeah.
shifts your focus, and then elimination, you're back to your usual. And then that, of course, brings down your accuracy and you don't do well. So I think a very, very good point there. Now let's shift focus to quant for a bit, right? So you're an MBBS student, you hadn't touched math after class 10.
Mm.
How did you cope and how did you manage to get like a Q50 on the exam?
So for me, I definitely lost a touch with quant, but I really think, and I even at that time I knew that I could do well in quant
Hmm.
because I had that kind of mindset that I can do well in quant, right?
Yeah.
But the struggling part or the challenge for me was that I had done even my maths in Hindi. So the challenge was that how can I actually understand the whole question? And
Hmm.
especially in geometry, it really challenged me to understand what is a rhombus, what is a parallelogram, what are the different kind of structures.
Hmm.
So everything. So I was a little confused, and it was a challenge for me. So
I'm
when I started
curious.
doing
I'm
quant,
sorry to cut you. I'm curious. What is a rhombus called in Hindi? Because even I don't know.
okay, so there are some chaturbhuj, there are chaturbhuj,
Yeah.
there are
Wow. Like, see, I
different
can
kinds
just,
of.
I absolutely cannot relate to it because it's so different. I mean, I don't even know what a square is called in Hindi, and now I'm feeling a little
That's a
silly.
varg. It
Wow.
is called a varg.
Varg. Okay, so see, this is where I learn something new when I talk to you guys as well. But this must have been really challenging, Nikhil, to kind of transition from a varg to a square. I mean,
Yeah.
amazing,
So
amazing. Carry on,
yes,
yeah, please.
sure. So in quant, when I started doing it, I was struggling with the number properties,
Hmm.
and the struggle with the number properties was only that I was making the wrong inferences, right? So
Hmm.
I've already I've told you that in the process skills, what I have actually realized that there were two process skills I was making
Hmm.
mistakes on. So one was making correct inferences, and the second one was considering all the cases. And the pattern, this inference and the considering all cases, the pattern I have identified because I knew that these were the process skills. In general, when you do solve a question, you don't even know that you use these process skills because it
True.
happens subconsciously. And when you make a mistake, you just say to yourself that it was a silly mistake. I have just
Hmm.
I have marked this incorrect because I have not read it correct. But there
Hmm.
is a reason that you have not read it correct. There is a pattern that you do
True.
mistakes in all the questions the same way.
Got it.
So for me, the main improvement point was that I have realized a pattern in my mistakes. Yeah.
Got it. I think not a lot of people teach process skills in quant because everybody feels that need to be like tips and tricks. There needs to be a faster way to solve a quant question. And that's how we are taught since our childhood as well, right? We don't build up one thing from another. We just want the fastest way
Yeah.
out of things. So
Right.
the course definitely does help with that part. It helps with the fact that even if you are at a Q46 or you're at Q49, it's going to help you equally, and
Correct.
that is something that you probably would have noticed yourself.
Yeah.
Once again, I think your journey is very, very interesting, and the way you've kind of managed quant and verbal together, it's been a long journey. It's not been a short journey as well.
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
it's wonderful to see you scoring a 730, and I think I was talking to you about this as well. Archit, Aditi, Nawam, all of us have kind of interacted with you in some way, so we kind of feel invested in that entire process as well, and we wish you all the best for your future. It was
Thank you
lovely
so
talking to
much.
you.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure of me for me because again I was seeing in a lot of interviews and I wanted to be here in an interview. So it has been a lovely meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you've earned it. I mean, you've gone above and beyond to earn it, and not a lot of people get this opportunity. And that's what I mean. That's you're absolutely spot on about that. That you've put in the hard work, you've put in the effort, and again, all the odds were stacked against you. And I am genuinely inspired by the part that you had to kind of move from mathematics and Hindi to GMAT math, where even a GMAT math question in the GMAT is fairly convoluted. It's not that simple. Word problem questions are, they keep going around in circles, and you need to figure out what you're supposed to do actually. So commendable, fairly commendable, and all the best. Thank you so much for
Thank you so
taking out the
much.
time.
Thank you, DJ.